Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here this March 29th, WSI LaunchPad webinar. I'm joined today by Michelle, um, who will also be in the webinar. Amalia will not be here today with us, but definitely look forward to sharing some really good news and as well as some interesting studies as well. Michelle?
Yes, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody who celebrated had a happy Easter weekend, and it's a beautiful sunshiny day here in Toronto. Hope everyone's feeling the sunshine as well. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. So definitely let's get moving. It will be probably today, after the Easter holiday, a little bit of a short webinar. I know a lot of people have a lot of things to get up and catching up, including myself. So let's start. Before I begin and kind of talk to you, I have a very interesting study on cost per acquisition by WordStream, which I will share. It's all regularly we get questions from ICs and from their clients in regards to some of the trends that are happening in cost per clicks, cost per acquisition, and this is a pretty in-depth study but was done by WordStream and has some valuable information that I will be sharing with you, at least at top level. And definitely, when it comes to cost per acquisition or cost per action or what are the trends in the different industries or verticals, primarily in North America, it does give you a bit of an idea. So that way, if you're looking at doing some sort of forecasting or providing a case study for your client in the sense of a business case, not necessarily a case study, but a business case, you have some numbers. So definitely we share that with you. But let's begin today with specific, I guess, the results that usually come every month from ComScore, and they actually I showed the explicit course search share report of desktop only. At this time, they haven't been able to share the mobile share report. And this one primarily is for the US, and it definitely shows the desktop, home, and work locations in regards to what is that search share. Where is Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, Ask, Network, and AOL. So there wasn't really a lot of movement other than the fact that Bing continues to grow. As you can see, it moved from 21.3% back in January to 21.4. There was also a 0.2% increase by Google, and it looks like the increase is coming because they're stealing away traffic, most likely, or search volume away from either Yahoo or Ask. So it looks like obviously Ask network is going downhill, and so in AOL just kind of plateaued at 0.9, doesn't seem to be growing. So this brings the data again, just the competition between Google and Microsoft. And we've kind of been sharing a lot of information about Google in the past few months, as well as Microsoft and their network, primarily via their efforts into making Bing very user-friendly search engine. And you can see that it has worked out little by little. They're not making large major gains, but what, inch by inch gains, and we've seen that they're now at 21.4% of the desktop search search share in the US. So I wanted to share that with you, as well as interesting in this specific article in regards to the PC. Data showing that the search query volumes on the PC peaked in 2013. So although now many sources, including Google, have confirmed that across that mobile obviously has the largest search query volumes ahead of PC in at least 10 countries, right? Kind of wanted to show this graph where desktop continues to be important, because if you can look at it right here, in 2013 it peaked at 18,266 in regards to search volume, and then obviously Google having a great That's when Google was at its greatest within the desktop search volume, and you can start seeing the decline, right? In the last 2 3 years, 2 3 years you can say, and one of the takeaways from this is that even though search is down, still important, because when you draw a line across, we're just, we're even performing better than 2011. So desktop continues to be a very important aspect of search, yet it continues to just decrease, or yeah, decrease. So we'll keep an eye on this, but just wanted to share that with you. If you ever have, want to do a presentation and want to share this screenshot, you could definitely do it for educational purposes. Those clients that are still, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, are still bent on not moving their site to a mobile version. Well, you know what? Bottom line is they're getting left behind, because desktop volume continues to decline, right? So the opportunities there continue to diminish. It will continue to be a part of it, but they're missing out on obviously mobile. Anyhow, I'm pretty sure you've shared that with your clients as well. But it's interesting to know that from a stats perspective. Okay, the other thing that was very something that was of news in the last week or so was that Google's now developing a keyboard for iPhone in hopes of boosting search volume. So, as you know, obviously, uh, in many iPhones, primarily in the iPhones, Google is not necessarily the default browser, and Google's trying is trying to be that default search engine on the iPhone. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I mentioned here is that they paid roughly 1 billion in 2014. Even though they've paid that much, it's still not the most used search engine on the iPhones, right? So what they're trying to do is make it more user-friendly. So their whole objective on developing its own third-party keyword for the iPhone is to increase the number of searches coming from iOS devices. And with the release of iOS 8, Apple obviously allowed third-party apps to replace its own keyboard. Okay, this study was actually done by The Verge, and they argue that most smartphone users do less than one mobile search per day. However, there are tiers of users, some of whom do a lot of mobile searching, and others who do less. So obviously, Google wants to be in the forefront of mobile, and they continue to push for that, push the envelope, and come up with innovative ways of continuing to preach about their mobile friendliness, right? And interestingly enough, there was a study done back in 2012. It was an independent study where it surveyed approximately 1,500 smartphone users, and the study found that nearly half of the audience didn't use Google on their phones, while 14% of respondents conducted more than 30 searches per month. Now, that was back in 2012. I would imagine now that number has definitely changed, right? Where you're probably looking at, 80% of the audience probably is using Google on their phones as their default browser. And that 40% of respondents conducted more than 30 searches per month, I'm pretty sure has increased to way more than that 14%, right? Because nowadays, everybody's on their mobile. Okay. Now, Google's mobile strategy is multifaceted, and this third-party keyword should be seen in the larger context. Obviously, they want to dominate mobile, and continue to dominate mobile, and continue to get new, users, and target new users. And as we've seen in the previous webinars where we've actually had some data to review mobile search, obviously Google continues to dominate. There are some graphs out there, some reports that have been done in regards to the actual mobile search, but many of these they're not 100% conclusive, so that's why I haven't even shared them with you in this in this webinar. But again, Google is the news item is that Google is developing the keyword to make it easier for iPhone users. Okay, so making sure that they continue to target them. Also, I have another interesting piece of news that happened last week. And I do apologize if we continue to talk about Google. It just seems like Google had a lot of action this last week that happened. Uh, Basically, there's always been that whole mystery about Google's top search ranking factors. And, while there are many, many that exist, there's always, individuals who want to find out what are the top three search and ranking factors. And last year, Google did mention, confirm that RankBrain was said to be the third most important ranking factor, but at that time, Google had refused to say what were the first two. That has changed a little bit. I don't know how official it was, but Google's Andrei Lipatsev reveals that links, content, and RankBrain are very important. In a specific a webinar that he did, and I actually have the link here, which I will share with you if you have a chance. It's a very good webinar. If you go to that website, as a matter of fact, they have a lot of Q&As, and the panelists on this forum are pretty strong guys. You have some really good SEO evangelists, if you will, and with a good methodology and process, and a good discipline, I would imagine, and they have some good Q&A. But bottom line is that at this specific Q&A, Andrew, who is the search quality senior strategist at Google, he came out and said that two factors, I don't want to say he came out and said, but he indicated that two factors were actually content and links pointing to your site. Okay, so we all know that content is very key, and that's a standard, and we did know that RankBrain was going to be very crucial based on Google's statement. Links is not surprising, even though there are many SEOs who about a year or 2 years ago after Penguin, they've said that link building was dead and link building is not good. And it's all about proper link building, right? Building, having a very solid, clean link strategy, right? Not only looking at natural links, earned links, etc. So it's really having the proper link building strategy. So for all of you, or if you do get questioned by one of your prospects or clients, what are some of those top search ranking factors? Here's your answer. This is what Google said. That doesn't mean that these are the only ones. If we look at the periodic table, there are many ranking factors, and also obviously Moz comes out with their yearly ranking factors report. But these are the most important ones, right? So they can come top of your head. These, as far as I know, these are the top three ranking factors. Now, I know that we've discussed RankBrain in the past, and just wanted to refresh your memory. RankBrain is Google's name for a machine learning artificial intelligence system that's used to help process its search results. It's part of Google's overall search algorithm, a computer program that's used to sort through the billions of pages it knows about and find the ones the most relevant for particular queries. RankBrain is mainly used as a way to interpret the searches that people submit to find pages that might not have the exact words that were searched for. So basically, it goes down that RankBrain has to do with relevancy. So links, content are important, but the relevancy of those links and content are equal to your website or to your client's website is equally as important. So I've added a link here as well. I'm just going to take a bit of a pause if you just allow me for a second, and I'm actually going to share this. I found it very interesting. I actually didn't get to hear the whole the complete audio on this video, or didn't say the video, but I do encourage that if you do have some time and you are an SEO enthusiast, go check out this specific webcast. Okay, and also I'm going to share with you some of the helpful links on RankBrain. That you may be able, if you forgot what RankBrain is all about, here we're going to demystify. Okay, so definitely something to. I just shared that in the chat section, so you should have access to it. But interesting, I mean, I think that Google's becoming a little bit more transparent, if you will, and not afraid to share their secrets. Even though I can't tell you that we all know that those three, at least the two factors, were important all the time, which is content and link building. But anyhow, wanted to share that with you in case you are asked or you're wondering. Okay, the next item that I wanted to share with you was in regards to Google actually redesigning AdWords. Okay, so they are going through a bit of um, uh, a total revamp of the AdWords interface. Okay, and this was actually announced on Monday that they will be rejuvenating the 15-year-old AdWords interface. Basically, the last time this was touched up, if you will, or had some revisions was back in 2008. According to Paul Fang, who is the AdWords product management director, one of the main reasons they're rebuilding the AdWords is because the world has changed so much in the past 2 years. AdWords is now over 15 years old, and they rebuilt this several years ago for a desktop world. Smartphones were only a year old. Now we're in probably the biggest shift since AdWords was introduced with mobile. So there has been increased demand on marketers and on AdWords as a platform. Advertisers are running ads in search, display, shopping, mobile video. Ultimately, that's why we are reimagining AdWords. Um, Having had a chance to talk to the team, our paid search team in regards to how they feel about it as a user, but I'm pretty sure many ICs out there who run their own AdWords campaign are probably going to be happy. Uh, I didn't list out all the different benefits that this new redesign will have. However, based on some of the uh, articles that I read, not just this one, but articles that were related to it, there is going to be quite a lot of different options to make it more user-friendly and mobile-friendly for advertisers. And as a matter of fact, Google actually listened to many advertisers in order to come up with this new redesign. So it's really the feedback from advertisers. Now, the time to roll this out, based on what Google has indicated, it will be introducing it to a small number of advertisers to those facets of the redesigns that are built starting today. So it is open to advertisers. And over the next 12 to 18 months, there will be testing groups, and they do plan to definitely allow companies to participate, whether they're large organizations or single AdWords managers, etc. And they want to make sure that they complete the rollout fully to all users by the end of 2017. So still a long time for these redesigns, and the good thing about it is that they're doing small changes, or what they call big and small changes, but they're not doing it at one time. They're taking their time, they're rolling it out, making sure that test results, feedback from advertisers is very positive. So something to look for, right? It's nothing that was launched fully or will be launched fully in one rollout, but there is a timeline set out. So anyhow, wanted to share that with you. I also have here the AdWords blog post, which I will share as we go through today's webinar. But something that definitely can we can be expecting. Specifically, if sometimes you're running multiple campaigns, and you want to be able to see different reports, or just accumulate different types of data, or bundle your actions, activities, etc. So definitely they're going to have a totally new design. And actually, let me just share the link for you. If you are, if you they haven't really shared a lot right now in regards to what it's going to look like, just screenshots. But here's the official 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 statement from Google that I'm sharing with you, and hopefully within the next few weeks I will have the team provide my team provide some feedback to see what are the takeaways so far from their first rollout. The other thing that I found, if you are really interested in participating in the data testing, beta testing, you can definitely participate. There will be a call out for testers. Excellent. So I move on to the study that I wanted to share with you. Spend a little bit of time here, and this study was actually completed by WordStream, and it was kind of defining some benchmarks pertaining to Google AdWords cost per action. And they actually took a look at 20 different industries, 2,000 clients in all verticals, representing more than 34 million in AdWords spent. So there's a lot of data, right? And what they wanted to do is establish as much as possible a current and accurate average conversion rate, benchmarks for both search and display ads. So it was a very in-depth study conducted by WordStream, and some of the top-level results that they found was that the average cost per acquisition or cost per conversion, cost per lead, if you will, first level lead, that's what they call it, cost per conversion or cost per acquisition, across all industries is about $59 on the search network and $60.76 on the display network, which is very interesting because I figured that the display network would be a much higher number, just because you need more impressions to get some traction, get more clicks, etc. But again, you are looking at $34 million in ad spend, so that's a lot of data, right? And on the display network, technology advertisers enjoy the lowest average CPAs at $19.23. Okay, so if you do have some clients that are in the technology verticals, it's something to definitely review, have a look at, and see if, given their budgets, it makes sense for them to do display network over the search network, or do a combination and test it out. Sometimes we tend to directly go into the search network right away, but you know what? Consider the display network for this vertical. And on the search network, those in the dating and personals industry have incredibly low average CPAs at just $6.91. So again, interesting data. If you have any clients in these industries, well, you know what? Paid search seems to be a very, very affordable way of advertising, right? So some of the top level nuggets. So I'm going to move forward and share more, and I'll share the actual blog post afterwards, where you have the full report. Definitely, if you are educating or pitching your clients Google AdWords or PPC, as a channel or as a source for generating traffic, this is a good report. I'm just going to ask for a quick second. I'm just going to pause my screen so I can put it there and see if I can share it with you. Okay, so I'm just going to take a look at some of the top level insights that were done by this report, and we do get ICs and clients that talked about the most expensive CPAs, and obviously dating and personals, like I mentioned before, are very affordable within the search network. But those at the opposite end of the scale, so which ones are the most expensive, are legal, right? They have average CPAs over 19 times more expensive than those in dating and personal. So again, if you look at cost per action, cost per acquisition, you can see that legal is at the top of the list when it comes to the search network, right? At $135 per action per acquisition. Now, the CPA or the action could be anything from filling out a simple form, or also gaining an email subscription, right? Subscribing to an email website's email database, etc. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a qualified lead. Please remember that. This is only a cost per action. So someone's taking an action to fill out a form, right? Which is a conversion, right? But then obviously the next question is, how many conversions you need to close a sale, right? And what is the quality of those conversions? These are just costs. We're not talking about quality. We're talking about CPAs, cost per acquisition. So the legal came out at $135 per action per acquisition. Health and medical, 126. Employment services, 105. Home goods, $86. Industrial services, $72, $77. So if you have for example, why is this data valuable? Well, if you have a client or a prospect that wants to do some PPC, right, paid search, and they only have $500, right, to invest on a monthly basis, that means you can potentially, if they're a legal firm, you can only probably get them about, what, less than 5 leads, I guess. We have about 4 leads, four leads with a budget of $500, right? So you definitely need, if you shouldn't be, unless you're doing some branding, brand awareness, and it's just remarketing, a budget of $500 is very little. This is why, at ALM, we try to educate the ICs that if you want to do PPC, if your client wants to effectively do PPC, you want to have a budget of a minimum $1,000. And in some industries like legal, health, and medical, you're looking at anywhere between 12 to 1,500, because when you look at it, with a budget of $1,200, right, you could be getting approximately 10, 11 leads per month, or cost, or, your 10 actions or 10 conversions, right, 10 to 12 conversions, right, just based on these general numbers, right. Industrial services, again, if you have a client in this industrial services at $77 cost per action and you have a budget of 500, well, you're only going to get about 6 leads per month, right? And if you're looking at 1,000, okay, you're going to get anywhere between 12 to 15 leads, right? Probably a little bit more, depending on if you're hitting the averages. Now, those enjoying the lowest CPAs, here's opportunities. Interestingly enough, I found that real estate had a very low of $41, but again, the only thing that I question here is the quality of those leads. But however, again, that's just me thinking about quality. But looking at shared, or at raw data, the cost per acquisition is $41, right, for real estate. Advocacy, so anything to do with advocacy services, nonprofit, charity type, for example. These are some examples. You're looking at $37 cost per acquisition. Okay, so very, very interesting top level numbers here, and you can definitely use these to draw some, some forecasting just based on averages, right? Cost per action. And again, it is a very, it was a very in-depth, in-depth study. So the numbers are, I wouldn't say they're 100% accurate, but they're pretty average, right? It's something that you can use yourself, or if your client asks you. Now, here are some, again, numbers that this is an infograph, very well, that you can use with your clients in your presentations in regards to the cost per action. Again, legal being at 135, the highest, 126 we have medical here, and then at 691, which one's 691? Dating and personals, like I said. So you have a whole variety of, this is the search network results, and this is now the Google Display Network, right? So you can definitely see that there is a difference between the cost per action for, let's say, medical is actually better if you do it on the display network rather than search network, because look, the cost per action is $48. Again, test it out. Have a well sound strategy. Don't just follow this, but definitely just do some testing to make sure that your cost per actions are manageable. Right, got to be very smart and strategic when doing advertising. Right, now here's another graph that I wanted to share with you. We definitely get a lot of requests from ICs in regards to what is the average cost per click. What are those average costs per click? And sometimes it's hard to get a number, or you don't want to, not that you don't want to, but maybe it takes a long time to go through the Google tools or Google AdWords tools to get an average cost per click. Well, here's very simple. If you're looking at some general numbers based on the 34 million advertising budget, you can definitely get some nice cool numbers here, where you can see, again, legal leads the pack with the highest cost per click on the search network, while the employment services tend to have the highest cost per click on the Google Display Network, right? And at the same time, you can see that e-commerce, very reasonable cost per click, average cost per click on the search network, and even lower on the display network, right? So these are some areas that if you have clients that are doing any type of e-commerce, paid search definitely works for them. This one here, I believe, is home goods. I think so. The other one that I was surprised was the cost per click in the automotive industry, right? Now, it's in general the automotive industry. It's just not talking about. It's not just related to auto sales, right, or dealerships, but the whole industry. They have a very low cost per click of $1.43. So these are averages that I'm sharing with you that you can definitely share with your clients and draw up some general conclusions, right? Obviously, if you are planning a strategy for your clients, you have to definitely invest the time on the research. But just to get some top-level numbers, some educational numbers for your clients, there's that opportunity. Travel and hospitality, again, look, you can look at it 155 cost per click, very decent cost per click on average, and on the display network, obviously even lower at 24 cents, probably one of the lowest ones. So you can definitely see that some of those cool infographics. Now, another question that we get that I wanted to share with you is in regards to the average conversion rate, right? Sometimes you get those questions from your clients in regards to what are those average conversion rates, and definitely the average conversion rate in hours across all industries is 2.70. Okay, so I think that would be the baseline that I would use, right? If you're looking at an average conversion rate, that would be the baseline that you would use, and that's on the search network, and 0.89 on the display network. So they're pretty good conversion rates based on this study. But if you want to get a little bit more granular, definitely depending on the vertical, you can definitely see here that the conversion rate here for banking, I believe it is, finance and insurance, I believe that's what it is. This one here, it's at 7.19, which is pretty high, right? That's finance and insurance, yes. And you can also see if your client asks you, look, I'm planning on doing an e-commerce website to sell some products, and I want to do some PPC on Google. What do you think would be my conversion rates? Obviously, these conversion rates are averages. It all depends on obviously how good the product is, the service that the company provides. So it's obviously product, service, and obviously the path to purchase, path to conversion on the e-commerce. But the conversion rate here, we have it at 1.91%, which is a very decent conversion rate. I would try to always, kind of under promise, over deliver, and say, be true that you can say, look, this is the average across the net across all industries at 2.70, but in your industry or in your vertical could potentially be as low as 1.91. So managing expectations, right? Because obviously if you're driving 100 visitors to a site, you're only going to get one, possibly, or 1.91 or almost two conversions per 100 visitors, right? So definitely very important to note that. Or if you are driving 1,000, if you are driving 100 visitors, you're getting that 1.91%. However, when you are looking at other industries, like for example moving back to travel and hospitality, which we get a lot of requests from, you are looking at 2.57%, which is around the average, and also you have a very good conversion rate with advocacy, right? Again, very high. This one here, I believe, is the 5%, which is consumer services at 5%, so it's very good there. Oh no, yeah, this is consumer services, I believe, or yeah, legal is here at 0.35. So definitely have fun with these infographics, and most importantly, the reason I wanted to share them is so you can have them handy when doing some presentations, or somebody's asking you, you're trying to do some general forecasting. Here are some just baseline numbers that you can use, and you don't have to spend a lot of time doing the research. Now, if your client, if your client is paying you to do the research, obviously it's better to do a more personal, more tailored, custom tailored approach to your client's needs. But here are some numbers that I definitely um, wanted to share with you. Excellent. Okay, so that brings us to a close today with our webinar. I know it was going to be a little bit short, and wanted to make sure that you have enough time for the week. But thank you for joining us today. I don't see any questions today, but definitely we will be back next week full blown, full with a lot of news. And also, I will have Chris Ballin, our SEO expert, join us. And I'm hoping to have one of our paid search experts the week after. So we're trying to keep it very relevant, very upbeat for the ICs. So thank you for joining us, and we will be with you next week. Take care. Have a great week. Bye-bye.